Steve, next week we have a very big show and kind of a uh, surprise and a new thing for the podcast. We have our first guest who was not involved with The Sopranos. Everyone we've had up until now has either an actor or part of the crew, producer, casting, but our guest next week is a very talented actor and comedian by the name of Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson, you know him from Saturday Night Live, the King of Staten Island. He's done a bunch of other movies. He's a young guy, the biggest Soprano fan. Just a huge fan. He's watched the show 10 times. He knows probably more than me and you about it. We're going to talk to him. Yeah. He's a very delightful guy, a lot of fun, and a good guy. So
I was watching the King of Staten Island, and there's a scene. He has his shirt off. He's got a lot of tattoos, but he has a Bada Bing tattoo.
Oh,
so I was like, well, and it wasn't for the movie. It was his real tattoo, and when I saw that, I knew he's obviously a fan. And King of Staten Island is a really good. He wrote that
movie,
as well.
And you'll enjoy. I think they're going to enjoy listening to Pete Davidson next week. The first non-Soprano cast or crew member will be joining us. I'm looking forward to that.
First, but not the last. We have some surprises coming up.
How you doing there, buddy?
I'm excellent. How are you, sir?
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm not excellent, but I'm okay.
Well,
I'm not excellent.
You're going to be excellent in a few minutes.
This guy that we got today, I like we've talked about this, he helped me so much. It's the first big episode I had, another Toothpick. It was a big episode that they gave.
That was the
Bobby.
Burt Young episode too, right? And Brian Tarantino.
I had to cry, and I had a really big episode. It's the first time they gave me, some meat to do on the show. So if it goes south, that could be the end of Bobby Bacala, right? Do a shitty job.
Sure.
They gave you your chance, and see you down the fucking road. You're at, next time you see him, he's at a funeral, his own. But this guy is a terrific director, and he couldn't have been. I went up to him. And I told him I had never cried on camera, and he said, "Don't you worry, we're going to help." This guy, he started out as an actor. He was born in L.A., started out as an actor, did all the classic shows, All in the Family, Bob Newhart, Mary Tyler Moore, The Mod Squad, Columbo. And then he got into the producing and directing. He directed 4 Sopranos. Which wasn't easy, and we're going to talk to him about that, because we were already, up in, in the middle of the 3rd season.
Sure.
And here comes a stranger from L.A. You know how that goes. You know what I mean? So let's bring him on. He's been nominated for 8 Emmy Awards. He directed 38 episodes of Lost, another incredible show. Incredible.
He was also one of the main executive producers, also directed the finale of the whole show, produced and directed, like you said, close to 100 different TV shows, including Game of Thrones, Alias, Carnival, Boston Public, The Last Ship. He's done a lot of work, man. We're really pleased to have him today as a guest. Please welcome Jack Bender, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Jack.
There he is.
Good to see you.
That was quite an intro, guys. Thank you.
Are you in LA? Are you in LA?
Yeah, I'm in LA. And like you, Steve, people who say, how you doing? I have some people I know who I don't know, who go, as months ago, how you doing? And they go, we're great. And I go, how can you be great? I mean, how could any of us be great now? I mean, yeah, we're thankful, we're healthy. I live in a lovely home. And, got my dogs, got my wife, family's healthy, thank God. But it's a terrible time.
And listen, we're all depressed. If you're not depressed, there's something wrong with you. Really, if you're not depressed, there's something wrong. Because I know I am. We're making the best of it. And this podcast has saved us.
You mentioned how much I've done, and most recently, Mr. Mercedes, which I exec produced and with David Kelly and ran and directed the majority of them, and with exceptional actors, just great actors. And Brendan Gleeson was our lead, and some other brilliant actors. And it really is an actor's show. The reason I mention that is not to plug it, even though it's on Peacock now, and it was on DirecTV, which means you guys never saw it, I'm sure. But this is now the longest, and this sounds like a princely complaint, and I don't want it to, longest I haven't been on a set in my whole life.
Wow.
And there are days I wander around wondering who the fuck I am, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. I think for me too, the same thing. I mean, I haven't been on a set since it's almost a year. I mean, the end of, like 11 months, a long time.
I've been lucky. I've been working. I started working in September. I've been shooting Blue Bloods. I've been on the set, and it's been good. It's not easy, but we're 8, 9, 10 episodes in, so not bad. I've been lucky with that stuff. So let me ask you: you started out as an actor.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? Did you always want to be an actor? Your father was in the business?
No, my father, may he rest in peace, was a furrier, but he was furrier to the stars. In fact, I've got some Sopranos blood in me, not literally, but because my father, when he was 20 some odd years old and came out from Brooklyn, changed his name from Israel, we didn't know, because we weren't very religious growing up. We had Christmas trees, but he, changed his name from Israel Bandowitz to Jack Bender, named me Jack Bender Jr., which is kind of a no-no to begin with. Judaism. I don't even know why. And became a furrier. He was born in Brooklyn, came out here. Bugsy Siegel was his first client.
Wow.
Really?
Mickey Cohen left his trench coat for my father to hold on to when he got taken to prison. And my father, would just, everybody he was furrier to the stars, every actor, everybody. So I was surrounded by him. I was blessed to meet Peter Sellers as a young kid, thinking I wanted to be an actor. He told me to do regional theater, do rep. He was lovely. So I was surrounded, and because I was such a dreadful student, like so many of us who do this carnival living, I was a terrible student, and I just watched TV as much as I could, and movies more than I read. And I just always assumed I'd be an actor because I could make people laugh and I could do this and that. So I became an actor. It was in the 70s and my hair, oddly enough, wasn't as long as it is now. I haven't had it cut since this whole pandemic started, but my hair was kind of long, and I played the hippie on All in the Family. I'm the third All in the Family ever filmed. I played, on Mod Squad, I was a campus radical with Bob Balaban. There were a lot of parts for us in those days. And so I started supporting myself as an actor, but I realized early on when I started directing theater that I was much better at looking at the whole picture than being in it. Probably a little self-conscious. When I'd see myself on film, I'd go, wow, that's what I'm like. That's what I look like and sound like when I feel good. That's horrible.
I feel like that very often, I'll be honest with you.
Well, it's not true of you, but you may feel that way. But So then I started to commit and segue into directing. And I was very blessed to be surrounded by people like John Houseman, for God's sake, and Jim Bridges and Gordon Davidson, who opened the door for me. And I directed regional theater for 3 years and then segued into television through John Houseman and film. And so, that's how I got here.
Wow. So did you study acting? Did you go to acting school or college or anything, college program, or did you just?
Yeah, I was USC drama.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, USC drama back then was run by a guy named John Blankenship. Once again, may his memory be a blessing, as my wife would say. And he was exceptional. And he would basically let us go on stage and either be terrible or great, and didn't direct that much. I remember I took one class in restoration bowing. Right now, that's come in really handy, right? How to do a restoration bow and all. That was like one class. So basically what we do was we just get on stage and we do all these plays, and he would take a group of us to Edinburgh and London and Germany for the summer, where we would do plays and rep, and, you know, met a lot of people. And so in any case, that was it wasn't really studying acting as much as just getting thrown to the wolves and surviving.
Maybe it's better. Maybe it's
Who
better.
knows? I know they're good schools, you know. USC's different now.
Hey, Jack, do you think it was easier then to be an actor than it is now? Or harder? Easier to get into the business? I mean, maybe less people? I don't know. That's what I'm asking. It was the 70s, right? 60s, 70s?
Yeah, and I supported myself doing that. You know, 1 or 2 guest spots a year. With unemployment, I'd put my money into plays, and that would get you through it. I think in many ways it was simpler. It was easier. I think it was a less crowded freeway.
Yeah.
Right. You know, when I read for All in the Family, my agent called me and said, "You're going to go meet this guy, Norman Lear. He's got this new show, All in the Family." And I go into Norman's office. The casting director from CBS happened to be there. Norman reads me and goes, "Yeah, great. Okay, you got it." There was no videotaping 40 times.
Yeah.
There was no getting through a number of people before you get to the casting director, before you get to the producer and the director. So I would say, yes, the world, I think in many ways was simpler, even for young filmmakers, because young filmmakers now, the irony is you can make a movie with this. You know, my first short film was 16 millimeter, and I shot too much film the first day and the budget went up, and I haven't changed much. But in any case, you made a short film, or you directed a play and had people come see it, and maybe doors would open. You know, so the irony now is that everybody is making a movie. Everybody can make a movie, but it's so crowded. You know, you guys know, when you look at Netflix or whatever it is and you want to watch something, you go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I've got a movie in development that I think is going to matter." I mean, it matters to me, but there's so much stuff out there. It's so crowded.
No, I agree.
Yeah, it's harder.
And I find it strange because with all these streaming platforms and all these cable stations, you know, it's not just network and movies anymore, which it was in the 70s and 80s, right? Network TV and movies and theater, of course. But now with all these platforms, all this streaming, yet it still seems like it's really hard to get work as an actor. I mean, for a lot of my friends and colleagues and people that I know, it doesn't seem like it's gotten easier. Strange. I guess it's because of what you're saying. Maybe there's way more people who want to do it. I don't really know. I don't have the answer for that, but it's I don't know. It's still a tough business.
Yeah, it is. And I think that when I was coming up and trying to prove myself, there were people who had to take a stand for you, but if you didn't screw it up, you usually got another shot. And there weren't as many people. I mean, I remember when Randall Kleiser, who's a friend, who's a director who directed, you know, a lot of movies, including Grease. Randall directed a short film that got attention, and suddenly he was getting work. You know what I mean? And so that just doesn't happen anymore. And I think that the streamers and the studios, really, given the way the pendulum is swung these days, rightfully so, to open the door to all these people who never had the opportunities I had. I think that they many times would rather go with somebody who's never done it than somebody who has done it. You know what I mean? There's just something in the air where they're constantly looking for something fresh. And I think now, like I said, I think the opportunities that people are rightfully getting now just opens the door to a whole bunch of other people who deserve those breaks who are getting them.
Makes sense. Can I ask you this? I mean, so you started, your first job in TV was in the 70s, and you started directing in what, like the 80s? Or
yeah, I think so.
So you've been in TV, and you've seen, and you're still in TV in a major way. So you've seen a big chunk of time pass. How would you define what The Sopranos did in terms of the history of TV, changing TV? What was new about it? Why did it make the impact that it did?
Well, I first met David Chase on a show called I'll Fly Away that we were doing for John Falsey and Josh Brand. It was a wonderful show. And David and I were there. I don't think he had directed yet on I'll Fly Away. He did later. But the first season, where I did like 8 episodes or something crazy, he was there. I was directing one of his that he had written. So they had David come out, and we got to be close. We really liked each other, and hung out a bit, went to a few movies together, so that when The Sopranos came around, I was doing a mini series and about to do another TV movie. And my agent at the time, who shortly thereafter was no longer my agent, said, this guy David Chase called. He's got some new show on HBO called The Sopranos. He's interested in you doing some. This was season 1. And I said, well, I can't. He says, I told him you can't because you're booked for blah, 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 when they wanted you. But I said, well, do me a favor. David's my friend. Call David back and tell him that the minute I'm available, I'm there, whatever it is. Who knows what The Sopranos is? And my agent goes, I don't know, maybe it's about singers. Who knows? I'm sure you've heard that joke, right?
Yeah, of course.
And next thing, so then you go through season 1. David, after shooting, calls me up and let's have lunch. And he says, it's the craziest fucking show that's ever been. There's no way this is going to work, David said. And I said, I don't know, David, it sounds pretty great. And, a friend of mine, Danny Attias, did it season 1.
Right.
And I went, I don't know. He said, no, they only put it on. Albrecht only put it on because they didn't have anything else, which frequently we know is the case. Next thing we know, The Sopranos comes on. And I think, well, it clearly changed television in a big way. And there's certain landmarks, and people, rank it as one of certainly the top 3 best shows ever on television, if not the best. A lot of people say the best. And the thing that I found so extraordinary about it was in David's brilliant, sick observation of human nature. And he said to me, the show's about my mother. And I had heard stories about his mother.
Oh, you did?
Oh, I had heard stories in Atlanta doing I'll Fly Away about his mother driving, and he said, but the way it balanced, and our first daughter was like 13, 14 at the time The Sopranos was on, before I did it. And, but the way we would watch that show and the way they would argue about handling Meadow, and Laura and I would look at each other and go, that's us. I mean, that's totally us. We've had that same argument. And the balance of somebody living that life, the balance of crime and that harsh world with humor and humanity, I don't think was done before. And I know David pitched it. Legend has it, David pitched it to CBS and all these places. And we know, thank God, it wasn't picked up there, which is another lesson,
right.
And because had it been picked up there, forget it. It wouldn't have been anywhere near what it was.
Right.
So I don't know I think it changed television because of what it was, because there were no commercials, because suddenly there was a John Cassavetes movie on television, every week. Mm. And I think because of the acting and the writing and certainly the directors, but it just there'd been nothing like that before. Even Chayefsky was writing, Playhouse 90s,
Right.
Whatever.
Did it feel different to you as a director?
Well, you mean when I was watching it?
No, when you came on the set, the way
I came on the set. I remember day one, I had an argument with the Mad Russian, Alex, right?
DP, cinematographer, yeah, Alex Zucker.
Who's now a director.
I know he is. He ended up doing something, whatever. I won't go there. He said to me, we were in Vesuvio. That was my first day shooting. And I think I was shooting more coverage than most people did on the show so far. It was, and we're shooting. I said, okay, well, let's go tighter. It was Tony and all the guys. I don't know, Michael, were you there?
Which scene was it?
It was another toothpick, and it wasn't, because we had those great scenes when Artie, I don't know if it was another toothpick where Tony takes Artie and grabs him and throws him against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And you had said that line that fucking slayed me, where you go, we got the truck, and it ended up all there was a bunch of fucking Duncan Sheik DVD. CDs. And I just thought, that's just, Duncan Sheik is so perfect. It's hilarious.
Right.
So I don't know if that was another toothpick. They tend to blend in my head, but it was different. And, whenever I did an episode, and certainly walking onto the Sopranos set, as you mentioned, after you guys had changed television, and it was season 3. And I think David graciously asked me, prior to that, season 2 or whatever, I can't remember, but it didn't work. I couldn't. And I thankfully joined you guys season 3. It was intimidating because.
Was it? Yeah. But you had been in the business, sorry to cut you off, but you had been in the business for at least 30 years by then. Yeah. So here you come, you're from LA. All of us are from New York guys, in the area. And I think I remember you coming on the set and kind of people going, who's this fucking guy? Everybody's a little leery, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I was David's friend. Yeah. And they figured me to be some old fart walking on the set. Not that David was an old fart then. But Jack, he's great. He's my old friend. I've known him forever. They thought, oh, shit. In fact, your script supervisor, who was great, the woman.
Yeah. Christine G.
Yeah, I loved Christine. She said, you're not bad. We were all worried when we heard you were an old friend of David's. But what I will say aesthetically was that it was very clear to me. And whenever I walked on any show, especially one I hadn't done the pilot for, or I wasn't there season 1 to help establish the world, like I did on Alias and other things. But whenever I walked on a set, I'd always say, I try to leave my ego at the door and say, how do I do? My ego was such, out of both audacity and insecurity, which is still true. I want to do the best damn episode of that show I can and ever.
Sure.
But I'm not going to do my movie. This isn't my movie. This is your show. How do I do this show and make it great and get the best out of everybody? And I realized that the aesthetic of The Sopranos was very much Godfather-ish in terms of Gordon Willis, in terms of, composition and lighting and letting you guys live in the frame as opposed to doing any kind of, Alias was a wonderful show, but it was a lot about camera movement and jazz and all that sort of stuff, along with wonderful acting and writing. The Sopranos was very still and quiet, and yet through editing and all those things and what was happening in the frame, it was, it had its life. And I remember when I was doing the therapy scene, I think it was another toothpick, the first episode, and it starts off with Tony and the doctor,
Melfi,
right? Yeah, Lorraine, talking, couple of lines of dialogue, and then Carmela has something to say, and you go, holy shit, she's here. Yeah. She's invading.
All right.
So I came up with a shot. I shot it the classic way you guys did with the different sizes and the coverage. And I knew that I wanted to reveal her. And I didn't want to do anything tricky. And Terrence Winter wrote another Toothpick. So I was very fortunate to have Terry with me that first episode. And it was a brilliant script. And so I started on a shot of James. And as Carmela says something and he glances over, I just do a very slow drift over to reveal her profile in the foreground. And I set that up, and Alec is looking around, and the script supervisor, Ginny, what?
Christine G.
Thank you. Yes, I remember her vividly. She says, Jack, come here. And Terry's standing next to her. And basically, they say, you can't move the camera in therapy. That's the only rule David has. No camera movement in therapy. And I said, I think he did in the pilot. She said, well, that's different. If he did or he didn't. But that's the only thing. Because David never said a word to me. In the tone meeting, quote unquote, where he was going to walk me through the script, he says, it's your meeting. You got any questions? So there was no rules except don't screw it up. And I said, well, so Terry said, look, why don't I call David and ask him? So I said, well, okay, let's set it up, guys, because I can still shoot that shot with or without the move, because it's a good shot for the scene to include them both like that. So Terry goes to the phone, asks David. David says, try it. So I shoot it, and I said, I think I had already said, let's light it, Alex, because if he throws it out or wants to crucify me, so what? It's fine. He won't use it. And it ended up being in the show.
Yeah.
Not to toot my own horn here, but I remember the aesthetic of the show was very clear. And just a little anecdote of the first day on the set. I'm in my hotel room watching TV, and one of the worst TV movies I ever did was on, like maybe the night before I started shooting, or the day before, or 2 days. And it was called The David Cassidy Story. God bless him, right?
I think I saw that.
Oh my God. If you could, it was called The David Cassidy Story. And I could talk to you for a half an hour about that.
Did he play himself or no?
No. It was hilarious. We talked to this poor actor who actually had a budding feature career until we got a hold of him. But it was not my finest hour. It was one of those, I won't even go into why I did it. So I'm on the set of Vesuvio, and Gandolfini says, hey, come here a second. And I said, what? And he said, I think I saw something of yours recently. What was it? And I went, I don't know. God, and I just thought, God forbid, he says the David Cassidy story with all the guys sitting around, right? And I went, no, I don't know what it is. I haven't had anything on lately. And he goes, I thought it was something, whatever. Thankfully, that goes away. But there was one other beat that first day, okay? My dear departed friend, John Ritter, was on the plane with me flying out. John was going to do something in New York. And at that point, I got a few bracelets on these days, but friendship bracelets that your kids would make and all that stuff. I had on like a couple of little friendship bracelets and one thing my wife bought me. And John says to me, what are you wearing? And I said, what do you mean, these bracelets? This one Sophie gave me, Hannah, whatever. He says, you can't walk on the Sopranos set wearing those bracelets. You're coming from LA. That's bad enough. He said, you look like Verushka. So I said, really? He said, yeah, just do not wear those your first day of shooting. And I think about it. And I say, no, it's fine. I'm going to wear them. So I wear them. And I'm walking by the same table at one point, Gandolfini grabs my wrist with everyone there getting ready to shoot, and he says, "Hey, I like your watch." And he's looking at my watch, and I thought, I'm gonna die if he guesses these phrases. So enough about that.
You got along well with everyone. Did anyone give you a hard time at first?
No, it was no, and I'll say that everybody was very open. I think having been an actor, I think one of the things I do well as a director is I know when to speak up and when not to. I know when to ask for it again and why I think maybe we should. And if ever actors want to do it again, I do. And I think I've even gotten better at that, because when I started out coming from the theater, it was like every flick of your guys' eyes, let's do it again. And maybe, I don't know that I'd actually say something about your eyes, but I was very picky. By the time I got to The Sopranos, I think I had learned, to let it go and to trust more. And I've even gotten better at that. But I think nobody, James said to me, just so you know, I think the second day we were working, he said to me, listen, just so you know, anything you want to say to me, say to me. He says, I'm not angry. I just look this way, which was very lovely and gracious.
Yeah.
And I feel that.
Yeah, it opened the door. And I think that I don't remember ever feeling uncomfortable on the set, like I can't say something that I need to say. I think you guys were all great. Edie, you could say things you usually don't say. Start this at the window and say this line and then move. I don't usually direct that way. We usually find it, and I have ideas, and then you guys have ideas, and that's how it lives. Unless there's an important reason to start at a window. But, you guys were great. I don't think I felt that.
Another Toothpick has some of the greatest action sequence choreography that is in the whole show. That sequence in Burt Young goes to Mustang Sally. He goes up the steps in the house, that whole thing that happens in the house. Then after in the car and the crash, that whole piece, it's like one big piece of music, and it's just flawless. Do you want to speak it? Because I thought when I saw it, I haven't seen these shows since they aired. And when I saw that episode and watched that whole sequence, it just knocked me out. It's so the fight is so sloppy and messy and dangerous and scary. Yeah. You want to speak about that a little bit? Because it's really exceptional work, man. It's great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, David had said to me, you did, I think it was after another scene where some other episode where they bust in and there was a money machine that was spewing money and some guys got shot and the money machine didn't work and was pre-CGI and all that stuff. And David said to me, well, now you've done the best fight scene on this show ever and the worst. But no, I think that, what? I knew I wanted it gritty. It needed to be raw and real and not feel choreographed. And working with those actors and the stunt coordinator, I knew I wanted to see his brains get blown on the ceiling. There were certain things in my head I had worked on. I always find good directing for me, unless it's an action sequence that demands, massive amounts of things going off, and you've got to really storyboard in detail. Like a fight scene like that, rehearsal is one thing, and finding it and pre-designing it, which you need to do, and where stunts are and where they're not. But I don't like locking it all in 100% before, which was true that day. And I remember Henry Bromstead was up my butt yelling to hurry because we were getting behind. And Eileen came on the set because I was shooting more than we had discussed. And it was great. And then we had to put off the actual shooting. It was written in the script that I think it was Mustang Sally, goes behind the curtain and hides and then gets shot in the curtain and falls. And resetting up after all the time I took to do the fighting and the details and the close shots and handheld and everything that was working so well. We didn't have time to do that. And Henry was plenty pissed off. So I said, ask David if we can take him to have him grab something and take him to this wall, which is lit, and get caught, and we'll shoot him against the wall, and then he'll fall, and we could do a blood, sponge.
That was the other guy. Yeah, that was the other guy that was in there. That was
that was the other guy.
the other guy.
Thank you. So in any case, David said, nah, that's boring. I've seen that before. Just don't do it. We'll pick it up. And then he came up with the idea that the other guy picks up a chair to hold.
Yeah.
Like the chair is going to protect him, which was, I take my hat off again to David Chase, who would frequently think of the other way to do it. That was better than just, I was trying to be a good guy and say, look, the fight scene is great. We've got all this great stuff. It's going to be great. He's going to, die in the car. Let's just do this. This is a beat. And David thought of a different way to do it. And I guess Henry shouted or whatever. But the sequence is great. And I got a lot of exceptional response to how
so exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Jack, besides me, who was your favorite character on the show? I know already that it's Bobby, but besides Bobby, who else was your favorite character?
Well, I was jealous I couldn't do your death at the train.
Who did you? But you worked with Uncle Junior a lot. I mean, you worked with everybody. Character-wise, was there someone that you enjoyed? I don't mean the actor so much, but somebody you enjoyed.
Let me think about that. If there's an honest answer, I'll try to give it.
All right.
It sounds like I'm walking a tightrope, but I'm really not, because all the characters were so delicious in their own way. All the actors in their own way. Vincent and Johnny Sack. I mean, that episode I did about the mole on her ass.
The weight.
The weight.
The weight.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a good one.
That was a good one.
You want to talk about that for a second?
Sure.
I mean, because first of all, it was hilarious. Joey Pants, that innocent joke, and when Tony has to go to Vincent when he should apologize, and when Vincent and Tony's already heard the joke, and Vincent tells him what the egregious thing that has been said about his wife, and Jim sits there and tries not to laugh and said, well, that's just terrible. That's just terrible.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
If I was there, yeah, he said.
Oh yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember? And Denise was the lovely woman who played. Has she passed?
Yeah,
She did pass away. Denise Barrino Quinn. She played Ginny Sack. Yeah.
And you know how that happened, because when I got sent the script and asked to do the episode, I thought to myself, oh my God, who's going to play this part? This is a really huge, demanding role. And David says to me, oh, no, we already cast it. She's been in the show. And I said, oh, really? Great. Because I was wondering, do we get an actress and put a pad on her? That's going to, what do we do? And David said, no, she's been in the show. And I said, who was she? I've seen every episode. He said, you remember the wedding, someone's wedding? I said, yeah, I don't think it was yours, Michael, but whatever. Someone's wedding, yeah. She's with Johnny at the wedding. Really? I don't remember. And you know what she says in the scene? Something like, congratulations. That was it.
Yeah.
And I was told later, she was somebody who did an open casting call.
Yeah. She was the only person they hired out of an open call of 10,000 actors showing up, which was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And she couldn't have been lovelier, and she was great in the part. But that took a lot of work, because she didn't really get a lot of the process of acting, having to see something before you comment on your Burberry coat. What happened to your Burberry coat? When we rehearsed, God love her, she was at the top of the stairs and coming out of the bedroom saying, Johnny, why are you so late? What happened to your Burberry coat? And I said to her, Denise, come around further so you can see it. She says, okay, fine. And she was just great, but she was very open, and it took some work to get her there because she just had never done it. And it was a really demanding role. Vincent was great. Everybody.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a really good episode. Did David give you, listen, we've had David on the show, and of course we know all about David. Did he give you free reign, or was he on you all the time about the way he wanted things?
No, he wasn't. First of all, he loved my directing of All Fly Away. And at one point I was told by one of the writers that he said to me, Jack's the only director. I did a low angle of Sam Waterston in this parking lot. And he said, Jack's the only director on the show brave enough to do that shot. And I say that in all humility because that probably wasn't true. But in any case, David was a fan of my directing. And he basically said, do anything you want, I learned, except don't move the camera, in therapy. And he would occasionally, like I remember in the wonderful episode where Jim wakes up from the coma and Steve is at the house where his relatives are dead, and he gets the briefcase and he has to go back, you remember? And he comes back to the land of the living out of his coma. There was an argument. Well, we had about, I didn't get a sense. It was written that, I don't know, I don't think you were there. A couple of guys come to visit Carmela and give her money, right? And say, we're here for you. Tony is, and then they go to the elevator and she catches a glimpse of them as the doors are closing, giving her like an evil eye.
Oh, yeah.
That's Fido and somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was worried that that look might not play. And because why would they do that if she was looking at them, even though I had a feeling that she'd probably turn just in time to see it. But if they were looking at her, it just felt to me, why wouldn't it still be? I just didn't trust the moment. And yet David said, no, it'll be great, and pushed me to do it. And I did it, and it was. But I don't remember, I like a lot of your directors, including the guys who did it a lot. They would, like Alan Coulter would complain to me, the way he cuts them, because Alan is a director who really designs transitions, as you probably know. One you walks out of one scene and then it's, coming up, and, they're very designed transitions. That's part of what he does, part of his style. And David would frequently just cut him. And what I realized is, a lot of shows, episodes, there'd be a short amount for David, a short amount of editing post, and then some where he'd have 3 months, and I'd get a week. I'd get 5 days to edit the show, and he'd get, 3 months. So that, and eventually I was told, I never asked David, that he would cut with his eyes shut to the rhythm of you guys and dialogue. So you'd be watching a crane shot that as a director took a long time for you to get and was precious and important to you. And you'd be watching it and suddenly, boom, halfway through it would cut off, and you'd go, because you get the DVD the day the episode aired. So David didn't want to hear any of our opinions. And usually they were beautifully cut, but definitely you could tell that at times he just, wanted to.
I think that happened as the show went on. If you
really?
look at the earlier seasons and episodes, the pace is slower than it was in the later ones. I don't know what that's about. Sometimes as an actor, because you're acting the whole time, whether you're saying a line or not, right? You're acting when someone else is talking, you're listening, or you're taking a pause, or you're thinking about your next before you speak. And often, it's your line that is on camera, and then it cuts to the next line, and those gaps between. Sometimes that's a little shot. I mean, it's similar to what you're saying about you design this big shot and then they only use this. As an actor, I feel that too. Sometimes your best acting is not the line, it's the reaction or the thought before the line or after. And when that gets cut, sometimes you feel like the whole performance is not there. Some of it's missing. I feel that a lot as an actor.
Yeah, no, I know. And I think that I understand that. And sometimes many times directorially, for me, what you guys do when you're not talking is absolutely sometimes more important or as important as when you're talking.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I did on this show, Mr. Mercedes. I said, and I really want to show where these actors get to breathe, where I won't talk about that show, but there were instances where I intentionally let it play, where my instinct, having been in television for so many years, was cut to this. And I said, no, I want to see him get his fat ass out of the lazy boy and stumble his way to the bathroom to take a leak. I don't want to just cut to him taking a leak.
Right.
And that's great. And I think now, especially, there are no rules anymore. If you pull it off, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's the good news about the medium now. Yeah. You really can. David and I grew up in television when there were a lot of rules.
Right.
And there just aren't anymore. And I mean, and on stuff you're doing recently, do you feel that more so? I mean, Steve, Blue Bloods is a big hit. It's been on forever on CBS, so that follows a certain formula.
Yeah, and it works. And what they do works. The writing's great. The acting's great. Michael has done a few, but it's a formula, and it works. It's on 10 o'clock. Friday nights, it's network TV, and it's a really good show.
Yeah,
but it is certainly a formula. Yeah, that's how network TV is. I don't know if it works other way.
Well, especially procedurals, or episodic kind of stuff that stand alone, but yeah, I think there's a lot more leeway. Now, I mean, it's, and the audience is going to tell you if you're pulling it off or not, because either they're going to like it or they're not, but you can get more specific about the characters, I think, let the characters kind of, like you said, you want to see that guy struggling to get out of the chair because that's going to define this is who this guy is, and this is going to tell you a lot about him rather than just the next thing he says.
Right, which was his intro into the show, and he was a train wreck at that point, which was exactly right.
Jack, we started the podcast in April. I don't know if you were aware of it, but we started it. We weren't going to do it. We had plans. Then the pandemic hit. We decided to do it. People were asking for it. It turned out to be, a huge hit and the best thing we could have done. And we turning it into a book as we speak. For HarperCollins, that'll be out in the fall.
Kind of kept us sane through this pandemic because there was no work. So this was kind of a blessing. Revisit the show, which we haven't done. Watch the episodes, and then it was really a blessing to do this, to have something to focus on and something so positive and interesting and personal, really too.
And we've got to talk to like yourself and David and Lorraine and Edie and all kinds of people we haven't talked to in years. So it's been really good, man. So I couldn't thank you enough. I could not thank you enough. I love you, pal. Tell us where we can see Mr. Mercedes again.
It's on Peacock. Actually, the first 2 seasons were on Peacock, and I guess you could still stream it. But the third season and our final, unless they want a fourth, and we're all available to do it, will be coming on. They're going to drop it, I think, the beginning of March. But I think you guys will like it. The actors are brilliant. And that was very much my focus on the show. And it's a gas to see you guys and talk about it. And
thank you, man. The best to you and your family. Thank you so much.
Yeah, those were very, very rich experiences that I remember fondly and wouldn't trade for anything.
No doubt. No doubt.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, man.
Be well, guys. Stay well. And hope to run into you in the flesh.
Yes, sir. Man. Take care.
Take care, buddy. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
There you go.
Jack Bender, director, producer.
Great talking to him. Good guy. Great director. Great producer. Really good guy. Let's take a break and then we'll get to the episode. All right.
All right.
This is season 4, episode 6. Everybody Hurts. It first aired on October 20th, 2002. Written by yourself. Is this your 3rd out of 5?
3rd out of 5. The title, Everybody Hurts, is the name of an REM song. So Michael Stipe was a singer, wrote most of the lyrics to REM. I've known since I'm a teenager, actually, through Tom Gilroy, who's a mutual friend of ours and was someone I started theater company with and went to acting school with. To have a long history with him and the band, and I've spent time in Athens, where the band was from and where they were living back in the 80s and 90s. We were developing a project at one point, a film project that never wound up happening, but the song is about suicide. And suicide obviously is a big component of this episode, where, he learns about Gloria Trillo's suicide and Artie Bucco's suicide attempt. The episode's really about Tony Soprano, kind of existing within the conflict of being this criminal and being a good guy. He wants to be a good guy. He wants people to like him, yet he also has this very ruthless criminal edge to him. And him questioning, and he says it in the episode a couple of times, questioning the idea, is he this toxic person that spreads negativity and misfortune around him, and that's basically what the show is about.
And it also shows that he has a tremendous ego, and how self-centered Tony Soprano is.
True.
Because he thinks it's all about him still.
Yeah. He thinks it's
and also, it's another episode that you wrote that I'm not fucking in. You couldn't have found something for Bobby to do?
Talk about an ego. And
you cost me money. I would be getting residuals if I was in this episode. Yes, I got paid for it, but I would be making money. So I think this is a conscious effort.
It was conscious. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You said, I'm going to keep him out. Because there's no reason I couldn't have been in some scene somewhere.
As what? Doing what?
I could have went to the store for Junior. I could have did something. I could have went to dinner with Janice and Tony. You kept me out. You got a hard on for me for years, my friend. For fucking years.
Yes.
All right.
It's all about you.
Christopher's apartment. Adriana and Christopher shoot heroin.
They're watching a show about now. Have you ever been to Egypt, to the Great Pyramids?
I have not.
I have not. It's one place I really want to go. I did go to the Teotihuacan outside of Mexico City, the giant pyramid there, which is fascinating. It's a big mystery. They always say they don't know how they built these things. They couldn't build it today. The technology they had, the precision of the design and the angles and the geometry and all that stuff. There's theories that it was built by sound. Like they had some kind of amazing way of using like voice and sound and create a frequency that would move these stones into place. I don't know.
Believe that?
Obviously, you don't. I can tell by the way you answer that question.
I don't believe that. I also have no desire to go to Egypt or to see the pyramids. I have no desire.
Why not?
Never, ever thought.
I don't believe that. I've heard that. I think that, obviously they had millions of, or thousands of slaves that probably had to, suffer to build those things. But they are pretty fascinating, works of architecture. The Sphinx, you don't want to see the Sphinx?
No.
They say the Sphinx is way older than they ever thought. Like, I guess the pyramids they think are about 3,000 years old, I think, or 4,000. But they think the Sphinx might be maybe 10,000 years old. They don't even know how old it is. And they're not really sure who built it. Because I think they think the Sphinx was built before what we know as the Egyptians. I don't know. The Teotihuacan, they don't know who built that, apparently. It was before the Aztecs got there. It was already abandoned.
All I know is the Grateful Dead did a concert there at the pyramids.
In the pyramid, in Giza.
Yeah. I have no desire. But when did Adriana started shooting heroin quite often? Is she becoming a junkie, or
she's becoming a junkie? She's suffering under the stress of what she's doing, with the feds, and it's being I think it's around. Obviously, he's using it. It's an escape for her. To step out of the reality that she's living in, which is extremely difficult.
We go to AJ's.
Well, he gets the call from Tony and says him to meet him at Webendorfer's.
He smacks himself in the face.
Webendorfer's is a place we spoke about with David. David's father was a foreman there, and my grandfather worked there. It was a factory.
If I was Christopher, I would have never answered that phone, man.
He's got to answer the phone. That's part of the job. I mean, I'm sure it's like, when you see my number, you better pick up the phone. That's the boss. And he kind of thinks he can.
Oof, he's high as a kite, man.
He's high, and he thinks he can snap out of it and wake up.
He's smacking himself in the face. Tough one. We get to AJ's friend's house. They're sitting around. They're drinking beers. They're smoking cigarettes.
So that's Paul Dano playing Patrick. Who's done a lot of work. I mean, he was a star with Benicio del Toro in Escape at Dannemora, which I played Governor Cuomo in, but he was in There Will Be Blood and a lot of really
Sunshine, which is a really good movie.
But he works a lot. He's a really great actor, and he's gone from being I guess he was probably a teenager when he did this, or early 20s.
Yeah, he's very young. He's very young.
Very, very, very good actor.
He says, you ever get paranoid? They'll shoot up your house like Godfather 2. Do you have attack dogs on your property? AJ doesn't have a clue. No, I mean, we did, but she got hit by a car. They never had attack dogs. Your old man's mostly legit now. He's in waste management. What about drugs? He owns a strip club. So they're very enthralled. They're very, as kids this age would be. They read about the father. They hear in the neighborhood. His father's the big mob guy, legitimately so, and they're questioning him. They're interested in this,
They're interested, and I guess it's kind of the first time he's really realizing that this can work in his favor among his peers.
And they're talking about the draft. There might be a draft. Your father will put a horse's head in the senator's bed. Parking lot, Tony and Christopher meet. Christopher is kind of nodding off, starts smacking himself again in the car. It looks like Furio sees it.
Maybe he sees something. I mean, I actually love this scene. I remember shooting it, and I really enjoyed shooting it because it's one thing to be high. It's another thing to have to pretend you're not high, right? Which is really fun. And you can't really, I mean, it's hard to hide the fact that you're high on heroin from somebody who's pretty slick like Tony is. But
I don't know. Would you really, if you don't know that world? He doesn't know that world.
No, and he could think he smoked a joint or had some. He says he smoked had some wine, but it was a lot of fun to play. Tony grabs the cigarettes from Christopher, and Jim one of those people who could smoke once in a while, you know, like it never got hooked. Like he would smoke before scenes, unfiltered Lucky Strike sometimes to get into a certain head. Apparently his father, Jim's father, used to smoke them. Somehow those cigarettes connected him to some aspect of his character, but he grabs a cigarette and smokes it. It's a very intimate scene. It's a good scene. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
writing, it's a well-written scene. It was really fun to play.
Talking about the washing machines. Then he notices something's a little off. You've been drinking. Me and Adriana had some wine at the house. He's saying, I got to make my number one priority to limit my exposure. And your blood. Now, they're not blood. But in Tony's mind, they are. But they're not blood, Christopher and Tony. But not by any means.
I think Christopher and Carmela are somehow related. But
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. So he's not blood, but he's, what about Sil? You know, you got Sil, you got Paulie. They're not my blood. Plus, he says Silvio's getting a little up there. This is 20 years ago. Silvio at the time, I guess, was about 50.
Well, the other thing he's thinking too is somebody like Silvio has a wife, has kids. You know, if the shit hits the fan, you know, like Pussy, is he going to, you know, want to jeopardize them or jeopardize not seeing them ever again? You know, at this point in his life, Christopher has a lot less to lose in a way, you know, which may be attractive. I love when he says, you're going to take this family into the 21st century. Well, we're already in the 21st century.
And he says, I just hope I'm worthy. And Tony says, why wouldn't you be worthy?
Right. He says that, but he obviously feels he's worthy because, you know, not long after this, he's bitching about why he's, you know, being, you know, not giving more respect or giving more responsibility.
Well, this is a big moment, though, for Christopher. Big moment.
It's a very big moment. And then he says, I'll follow you into the gates of hell, which literally later on he actually talks about that.
And, you know, a big thing was Tony telling Christopher who killed his father. That is a big deal. Christopher will never forget that. That's a big deal that Tony tipped him off and he was able to, you know, avenge that. So we're in Matt's car, AJ's friend. They're trying to find the strip club. AJ doesn't know. They wind up in front of Satriali's pork store.
He's getting his wires crossed. He remembers something, his father's business or something, and they wind up at the pork store. He goes, this is the pork store, and his friend says it's a gay strip club or something.
I'm surprised that at this age, which AJ, I'm assuming, is about 16, 17 now, that he wouldn't be more interested in what his father does.
Well, he's kept away from it. I mean, he's not, it doesn't seem like Tony brings him around to these places.
No. He's trying to keep his son out of it, which a lot of mob guys have. But there are also mob guys who, you know, brought their sons in on it. Right. There's nothing sadder to me when a guy's in jail and his son or two sons are in jail with him.
Oh, that's horrible.
That's just fucking horrible, but it's very common. Very common. You know, listen, even the mothers sometimes are in dealing dope, dealing drugs. The mothers got, you know, involved and everybody gets into trouble. They're all busted. It's happened quite often, you know?
Yeah, it does happen. I mean, he obviously he's been sheltered from it. I mean, that's really what they're saying here between the image the image of the gangster and the Godfather, and they talk about it. So it's a front, the pork store, like Jenko. This is his office. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, it is. It's clandestine or whatever. But AJ's been sheltered from all this, and he's really he's very distant from it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Soprano kitchen late at night. Tony's in the fridge getting something to eat. Carmela comes down in her robe, ready for bed, and boom, she's startled. Runs into Furio.
She gets all flustered and
very flustered. It's very obvious there is something happening between them. It's very obvious here.
It's not obvious to Tony, though.
Not to Tony, but he looks at her, and he had to use the restroom, and it's very obviously there's shit happening, you know. Tony's in bed. Carmela gets in. I worry about Furio. He seems lonely. He says, stay out of it. Just leave it alone. She's not his type. Talk about setting her up with the.
And why does she want to set him up?
I think maybe to be around him more.
Just to
don't
be
know.
involved in his life somehow.
Maybe.
Or?
And he says she's not his type. She says, well, what's his type?
Right.
Maybe she could be more his type, whatever that is. I don't know. Then he tells her, she says she brought the car over to Globe Motors. And the nice sales lady that drove her home, Gloria Trillo, committed suicide. She hung herself from a chandelier. I got to tell you, these fucking car salesmen, that's a lot of information to give to a customer.
It's a lot of information.
Right.
Absolutely.
Very detailed. What the fuck, man?
I like the way he shot it. Steve Buscemi directed this episode, the way he shot it, because you're on Tony's back in the beginning, and she just started, I mean, we all know where this is going, and we know that what Tony knows, and the way it's shot, and you don't cut to him for a while. It's really, it's kind of interesting.
And really Tony has tears in his eyes. When he hears about Gloria, he doesn't say anything. And Carmela even says, Mr. Empathy over there. I mean, this is a blow here.
It's a big blow. And he obviously, it's not that long after they were together and they broke up. So he obviously is feeling the weight of that and the guilt of that and how much of that it relates to him and is we got to
remember, Gloria wasn't just another Gumata. He had feelings for her.
Oh yeah,
he wasn't just like Irina. This was more than that.
No, she kind of rocked his world a little bit. Yeah,
absolutely. Vesuvio, Elodie, is that how you say it? Elodie?
That's how Charmaine says it. It's Elodie. Elodie Colbert, played by Muriel Arden. And her brother, Jean-Philippe, is played by John, I don't know how you pronounce this, Uga Anglade, who's done a lot of movies, Betty Blue, Killing Zoe, The Professional, Nikita. He's a really good actor. So is she in this episode. Artie obviously is smitten with her. He's separated now or divorced or going to be divorced, and he's totally smitten with this chick.
She's flirting with him.
She's flirting. I think... does she know that this is a scam? I don't think so, but she's definitely...
Oh, I think so.
No, I think she's just helping. I think her brother convinced her that he needed this help and that it was all on the up and up. And
now, you don't think this was a scam from the beginning?
From the brother's point of view, not from hers. I think he went to her and said, I need your help. Can you help? Your boss, he's got money. Maybe he can help. I'll make him money. And she poured it on and sweet-talked him.
Okay. But it was a scam with Jean-Philippe from the beginning.
Yes, he's a con man.
He's a con man. Okay. Yeah. So now what does this line mean? Little pitchers have big ears.
Little pitchers?
Yeah. That's what Artie says. Little pitchers have big ears.
Oh, little pitchers. Yeah.
Well, what did I say? That's what I just said.
Little pitchers.
What do you need? What do you need? A translator to talk to me?
No, I hear you. I hear you. It means she's paying attention to what's going on, and he's surprised.
Okay. She's flirting. He's smitten. He gives her some big bullshit. In France, a group is purchasing Armagnac.
Do you like Armagnac?
No, not at all.
You don't like it?
No, I don't drink.
You like cognac?
No, I don't drink any dark liquor.
I mean, Armagnac I like better than cognac. Armagnac is it's a region that's I don't know how you pronounce that either. Gascony region of France. It's one of the first regions in France to distill spirits, but they make much less volume of Armagnac than they do of cognac. So it's not as readily available all over the place as cognac is.
And he gives him a whole bullshit. It's a $10 million worldwide launch. It's the new vodka. He needs 50,000 more to secure the North America. I mean, anybody with a half a brain would know this is nonsense. He wouldn't fool me.
He shows him the brochure, and he's, Artie's looking for. He's also he's looking to get in good with her.
Absolutely. He's trying to impress her.
The dish, the ortolan, the birds, these little birds that they force feed, and then they drown them in Armagnac, and then they kind of flambe them. It's this, and now it's illegal in France apparently, but it's this famous.
You've had them?
No. There's Anthony Bourdain's book Kitchen Confidential has a section where he talks about going to this very clandestine event where they were going to serve these things. They eat them all under a hood.
It sounds absolutely horrifying and horrible to me.
They eat them whole with the bones and everything.
Yeah,
I guess they're
awful.
kind of roasted and in fat. I don't know how they do it. Anyway, Armagnac's really delicious. It's very it's more aromatic than cognac, I think, and more flavorful. It reminds me of the Three Musketeers because I think D'Artagnan was from that region of France where it comes from.
He says you only need the money for 10 days. How's that? Because the deal is done. The advertising money coming to me. Complete bullshit. Artie thinks he's slick. It's going to cost you. He wants the Shylock money. He goes from 10,000 to 7,500. So Artie's looking to make a little score. And what's the old saying? You can't con an honest man.
Right. Because he's looking to capitalize. Con men work on capitalizing on your greed. That's how con men work, you know.
Vesuvio Kitchen, Charmaine and Artie clean dishes. It's a venture capital thing with John Philippe. I'm sure it won't pass your incredibly high Wharton School of Business standards, he says.
Yeah, I like when the guy says, "Is she Charmaine? Is she French?" And he says, "Not remotely. She's not. She's not." And then he's defending Elodie. She's a hostess, not a busboy. Charmaine is not so thrilled about. She calls her Elodie. She's not so thrilled with her. She knows that she's flirting. Artie being kind of pathetic around her.
So why don't you get your friend Anthony Soprano to pay his tab? $6,000. That's a lot of money for a small restaurant like that.
That's a big tab.
$6,000. Yeah. That's a big tab. 20 years ago in a restaurant. It's not that expensive, Vesuvio. Can't be that expensive a place.
No, and he probably orders the best wine, and he has big dinners there. Maybe how often does he pay his tab? Maybe every couple of months.
I don't know. I could have an empire like Bobby Flay, and it still won't be good enough for you. Bobby Flay gets a nice plug in this. Bobby's a good man, good guy. I've done his show. Have you done Bobby's show?
No.
Beat Bobby Flay, good guy, and I've known him for quite a while. He's another Nick fan.
Did you beat Bobby Flay? Did you beat him?
No, I was a judge.
Oh, you were a judge.
But the guy that went against him beat him in one of the shows. And I got to tell you, this is the one thing that I didn't know. I kind of thought, they asked me to do it, and I was happy to do it. And I kind of thought, because I've seen it on TV, and I said, he's got to have help, because he can't be doing all this work himself. Bullshit. On Beat Bobby Flay, he does everything. I mean, he is busting his ass, working to cook up whatever.
I did Chopped. That was not
a lot of work. And Bobby did everything, yeah. And Bobby's a good guy. I mean, he's done very well for himself, and I like him. And he got a good plug here. And, of course, Mario is friends. Usually they talk about Mario Batali, but Bobby got the plug here, so that was nice to see. Globe Motors, Tony walks in. He looks at a car. Salesman once again. Ask about Gloria.
Might be the same guy. He likes to talk about people.
Fucking guy is giving up too much
information. He likes to give up information about everybody.
Month ago, maybe two, she left a note. She was selling her coat.
Did he give her that coat?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Selling a coat. Working with other salespeople. She was very helpful. Tony gives him the bullshit. And this guy here, he talks too much.
She left a note on her desk. The police took it.
Yeah. Let's take a break and we'll come back.
All right, we're back.
We're in Ralph's office. He's there with Vito. Of course, he makes a joke. He's trying to break Vito's balls.
Rare pleasure, or is it well done? Which is, I don't know.
Then he says, if you got a dirty apron, Vito will suck the stains out. He's always putting poor Vito down.
Ralphie's a mean guy. He's a
Mean guy.
mean-spirited individual. One of the fun things about this episode was it was a big one for John Ventimiglia. Who
Well, because you go back with him.
we go back
30
so
years.
long, and
I guess I don't know you that long. That's why I wasn't in it.
I've written some good stuff for you too. This was John's turn. It can't always be your turn. So other people got to get the spotlight too.
Why not?
Listen, this is a good episode for John. We got to give him. He had a big one here. It was a lot of fun for him.
He does a great job. Johnny V is great in this episode.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. He says, I'd like to borrow a little money, $50,000, just for a couple of weeks. I'm upgrading the kitchen in the restaurant. And he says, just curious, what's going to happen in 2 weeks? The insurance check's going to come. Ralphie's sharp, man. He knows it's bullshit going on. And
well, not necessarily.
I think so. I think he
really
does.
does believe. Listen, if Artie fucks up on the loan, it's going to be hard for Ralph to. He can't treat him like just another guy because he's Tony's best friend.
Yeah, but I just think that Ralphie's a little onto him.
He also says, well, the money you take out of that restaurant, you're sitting on money like King Croesus. King Croesus was the king of Lydia, by the way, which was like 500 BC. It was part of Turkey, I think, back then.
And then Artie goes like this. After he does in a nutshell, then he goes like this, King Croesus.
King Croesus. Hey. I don't know what that is. Johnny has a physicality no other actor has. I mean, maybe Art Carney before him. He physicalizes stuff better than any actor I know. I've seen. He really does. He can make something. Can you imagine anybody else doing Artie Bucco?
No, it's great.
You know what I mean? That with that character, without him, could have been faded into the background. He just makes it so specific. Brilliant. He's just so good.
Ralph says, I hate to do it, Artie. I think I'm going to pass because if you don't pay me back, I ain't going to be able to hurt you because he's such good friends. And they go back a long way with Tony.
Good decision. I think also kind of Ralph, it's a rare moment of him being a little bit kind in a way and doing something smart. Ralph's made a lot of horrible decisions.
And Ralph always says, I'm going to have to charge you 2 points. And 2 points on 50 grand, that would be $2,000 a week, I believe.
Well, 10% of 50 grand is it's 2%, you're saying, right?
2 points. I don't know. But
yeah.
Later on, Tony says it was $1,500. He charged him
2
a point
points
and
is
a half.
1,000, I think.
Yeah. So, how's Gloria Trillo? We're in Melfi's office. It's a terrible tragedy. So you fucking knew he's upset. You fucking lied. He gets in her face. Why didn't you fucking help her? He's screaming at her. She said, you've been drinking. I gave my patients everything. Something like this happened. It's devastated. She's a good kid. She was fucking crazy. I told you. Melfi's defending. Hey, she slipped through everyone's grass,
Yeah, it's a great scene between the two of them. Their acting is, both of them, Jim and Lorraine, are just fantastic in this scene.
I guess Tony went, when he left Globe Motors, he must have went and had a few drinks.
He had a few drinks. I think he said this before to her. He's confronted Melfi about being incompetent and not being good at what she does and questioning whether this works. And here
Tony blames himself. I see a lot of self-centered. It's about him. It was his fault she killed herself.
Right.
Kind of likes that. We've talked about that before. Kind of likes that thing. It's like when Irina tried to kill herself. He kind of, in a way, kind of like that. That it was because of him.
It makes him feel makes him feel important that he impacted them so much. I mean, he does try to defend himself. She was a good kid. She was crazy. She knew I was married. He's trying to kind of, assuage himself of the guilt. She knew I was married.
He's crying. He's upset. He's crying. He's very upset by this. Maybe the drinking doesn't help. And, but like I say, you see that self-centeredness,
But he's also questioning how bad is he just instinctually a bad human being that's going to leave a trail or a wake of tragedy behind him? He's really questioning that in this episode. How much of, it's like he's trying to be a good guy, but can you be a good guy when your life is steeped in, criminality and murder and that kind of thing?
Artie's apartment. Tony arrives. What did I do to you? You don't reach out to me. Ralph told me that you came to him for money. So he takes this as an affront. You go to him. You don't come to me. I'm your high school friend.
He's also coming on the heels of this last scene with Gloria. So now he's even my best friend doesn't come to me, maybe because he thinks I'm a bad guy or because I'm a horrible person. That's and he says, well, if I was desperate, you'd be the first.
If my daughter had a brain tumor, I'd come to you.
Right.
Tony's going to give it to Artie at 1.5. So I think that's like $1,500 a week, and you still owe the principal.
Right.
So you pay $1,500 a week. You could pay that for the rest of your life. You still owe the $50,000.
Right.
Going to a Shylock is a real desperado move, man.
Bad move. Yeah, you're getting it over your head, and Artie decides this is
it's a business venture. He needs a bridge loan. He's going to get back 57.5. He's going to get back. He's going to make $7,500 in 10 days.
Right.
Tony says, "You got it." Shows Tony the bottle of Armagnac. Gives it to him. Shows it to him. The nice package, which you can't tell anything from that. That's what they do.
He's,
the box,
he's hooked. He's in deep. He's thinking he's going to make this money. I mean,
he's repeating what John Philippe said.
It's the new vodka. It's like Stoli, Grey Goose. Who would have known Stoli, Grey Goose? It's, who would have known what Grey Goose was? It's all about the marketing. They're going to market it like French vodka. It's not that. It's not going to be vodka.
But it is true. With liquor, especially, it is all about the marketing. You don't hear about something, then all of a sudden you see commercials, you see ads over and over and over.
A lot of it is, yeah.
That's where Ciroc came out of nowhere. I think that was Puff
even
Daddy.
Absolute, which was in the 80s when it came really to prominence, but it was that massive ad campaign. Keith Haring, and they had a lot of the artists that they doing. They were very slick with their advertising, and no one had heard of it.
It was Stoli, then Absolute, then Kettle One. It's still
was popular. Later. Kettle
Grey Goose.
A lot later.
Grey Goose is very big now. Kettle and Grey Goose. Ciroc. All marketing, man.
I've never heard of Ciroc. What's
that? I think it's Puff Daddy's vodka.
Is that popular?
It became very popular, and all these things became extremely popular, and it's about the marketing. It could be, I'm sure there's better vodkas.
Belvedere.
That's a good one.
That's a potato.
But it's all, and then Tito's is big now. Handcrafted. What do you mean?
U.S. It's American.
What do you mean handcrafted? The guy's in Austin. What fucking handcrafted? He's making the vodka. What's he doing? Squeezing the fucking potatoes? What is he doing?
People like it because it's American.
Yeah, it's like like an ad for pizza. It's hand tossed. The fuck does that mean? It's hand tossed as opposed to a machine making it.
I guess so. Yeah.
Does that make you want to? Really, does it matter?
I don't know. It's like the fast food pizzerias. Is that all machines? Or are they tossing all those stuff? Like
I don't know. What? Like Pizza Hut? I don't know. Hand toss. It's all bullshit marketing.
Do you like Pizza Hut?
I've had it. I don't. It's not my pizza of choice, but pizza really, no pizza is really terrible.
Oh yes.
You're really like what? Like what?
I've had bad pizza.
It's not good, but it's not terrible. It's cheese, sauce. What the fuck? It's not terrible.
I've had terrible pizza.
Really? Where? Name the place.
I don't know, but I know.
Let our listeners know not to get the pizza.
I've never had Domino's or Pizza Hut or any of that.
Oh, I've had that.
Fast food chain
in
stuff.
Vegas, that was very popular.
Not for me.
Okay.
I don't like the idea of it.
Okay. All right. They got to eat too.
Who?
The owners of Pizza Hut and Domino's. It's called Domino's, Not Domino's. Domino's.
No, it's not. They got to eat too. What do you mean? They started the business.
Little Caesars. Hey, kids' birthday parties, you know. Listen, I go here. I love the pizza over here. I love Harry's. I love Justino's. Got great pizza. We've talked about it 100 times. There's guys in Laguna from Brooklyn City Market. They got great pizza.
All right.
Glorious place. You know, Tony leaves. You see him leaving Artie's house. He's got the almanac. He swigs the bottle. He's drinking right out of the bottle. There's a dream. They're at Gloria's house.
He's got the armagnac at Gloria's. She's got a scarf around her neck. She's making dinner. There's that song "You" by the Aquatones, which also played the song from 1958 in the dream when Christopher is in the pork store back in season 1 with Emil Kolar. But it's and it was also used in Mean Streets, that song, and as well as Mad Men. But there's this tender kiss between the two of them. She's cooking. The timer rings. She's basting the meat or whatever, and the sound effects with those weird, like strange, slurpy basting sounds, and then the ceiling's chipping, falling into his armagnac, which is like she hung herself. So it's the image of where she hung herself, or off the chandelier.
I like this scene. She has a black long scarf around the neck, and as she goes into the other room, it wraps around Tony. Around Tony. That's a really good shot there.
Yeah, and she says, "What do you want to see? This
or this?" Yeah,
referring to her nether regions.
Her
nether regions.
Nether regions?
Yeah.
The fuck is that? What's a nether region?
You know exactly what it is.
I don't know. I don't know what a nether region is.
She says, "You want to see this or that?"
Okay.
Her neck or her genitals. Genitalia. Or genitalia.
Jesus Christ. That's what this become? Genitals? What the fuck? Tony's drinking. He wakes up. He was dreaming, obviously, a nightmare more. He goes into the bathroom. He takes Prozac. Tony's very, very hungover.
Yeah, he's been because he was drinking when he heard, about the suicide. After he went
was Jim hungover in real life? Do you remember?
I don't know. I don't remember.
He looks really hungover there.
Probably acting.
Yeah. Tony takes Prozac and Tylenol. You hear Carmela. Brian's downstairs going over the paperwork.
Well, what's important here is that now he's decided to do this living trust, which he was against.
Yes.
Now somehow we're making the connection between the guilt and remorse and sorrow he's feeling over Gloria's death is transferring somehow into his attitude towards Carmela and the finances. The kitchen timer goes off here, Carmela's kitchen timer, which is a reflection of Gloria's kitchen timer. So we're connecting these two things, and that they're changing his attitude towards the living trust. Now he's decided to agree to her terms with this, and she's very grateful.
She apologized if she was obnoxious about it. She's very happy now. She also asked about, too bad we couldn't get the 8 Billy Joel tickets.
She wants Furio to come.
Furio and the girl she set him up with, the nurse and the doctor.
She just wants him around somehow.
I guess.
Very weird, right? So she's in love with the guy.
I don't know. If you had a thing for a girl, I don't know.
Yeah.
Would you invite? Do you want to be around her?
No.
Even if you can't have her?
No. Would you?
Crush if you're crushing on her?
That would be horrible.
I don't know. Maybe there's something might happen. Goes to the
That's
bathroom.
like if your favorite food, right, whatever, say it was pizza or something, you can't even eat it ever again. But you want to watch other people eat it? Would that make you happy?
I don't know. Maybe she's hoping somehow, somewhere, something will happen between them. The more time she spends with Furio, the better shot she's got to be with him.
Strange. Yeah, but that's what she's doing, definitely. You're right. He does say he's going to hook him up with suits, call Patsy, he'll hook you up, Hugo Boss, whatever. And he says, "Wow, you're a great guy." Artie says it also in the other scene. You're a great guy, Tony.
As
So there's
opposed to
that.
a toxic person.
That's what the play we're doing here.
And she says, too bad we couldn't get 8 tickets. He said Hesh could only get 6 to Billy Joel and Christopher, as we'll see in a little bit. Christopher and Adriana are supposed to be joining them.
All right.
Vesuvio, Artie sits at the bar, walks to the back door. He grabs the bag of money from underneath. He's sneaking it from Charmaine. And he gives it, goes to the back door. It's done very...
Cloak and dagger. Yeah.
For what? It's supposed to be
Because of
a legit
Charmaine.
business.
No, because of Charmaine. He doesn't want Charmaine knowing how it's going down or what's happening.
Lodi watches.
Yeah.
All right, we're in the Soprano living room. AJ and Devin are on the couch making out. Carmela comes in, goes upstairs. Kind of caught him by surprise. AJ gets up. He's got a heart on in his nether regions. He's got a heart on down in the nether region.
He's got a protrusion in his nether region.
Protrusion in the nether regions. Yes. He doesn't want his mother to see. Devin says, I really want to be alone with you. Your house is out, right? My mom's boyfriend's using it as an office. I'm not at my dad's till next week. He mentions his sister's dorm. Now, Carmela, and we've seen this before, she's bragging.
Oh, yeah.
Watch that statue.
I don't want to even tell you how much it costs.
But then she tells her almost immediately, $3,000, and she goes upstairs. Her and Tony both do this kind of shit. Especially Carmela, the size of the house, really wears it on their sleeve. Really likes bragging and doing this. She goes, let's go to my sister. We'll go. He calls Meadow. We'll go to see my sister. We'll use her dorm.
We'll take the bus. She says their buses are so smelly. So let's get a car service on her Amex. She's, and then she talks about in Tahoe they have a compound like Don Corleone. He says, no, we do have a boat.
Yeah.
We don't have a house in Tahoe. We do have a boat. And she's like, I'm a gangster dude's girlfriend.
Yeah. She's liking that.
He's liking it too, I think, obviously.
The statue is expensive. That's really something. Really, really something there. You don't see a nice side of Carmela there with that, Car service, she puts it on the Amex. He was willing to take the bus. They pull up in the Bronx. They think they're in Harlem, up near Columbia. They're in the South Bronx.
Right. She's working at the South Bronx Law Center.
Which is so much nicer than it was 20 years ago. They've done amazing things to the South Bronx. Yeah. They can't believe the neighborhood Meadow works in. AJ is physically scared. You can see that. He said, make sure you don't leave. He tells the car service driver he couldn't imagine being stranded there in the South Bronx. This is like another world to him. He landed on Mars. He didn't know. I don't know if he knew, didn't know. He's never been to a place like this before. This is what you do on a Friday night. Asked to use her dorm room for sex. She goes, and what am I supposed to do? About the bed. He says, well, keep the cover on.
But she thought he was coming with his girlfriend to hang out with her and do something maybe. And basically he just wants to use her bed. She's like, you're the greatest cultural center in the world and you just came for sex. She wanted to take him to a reading in the East Village or something. And he's like, well, is the tree up at Rockefeller Center? And she's very disappointed in him.
They're talking about these people who live on welfare and food stamps. Says his mother buys a $3,000 statue and they have a housekeeper 3 times a week. He's saying that. He says his friend, she says we are insulated from reality. He says his friend Steve has a house like a box with no dining room.
They don't even have a dining room. No. AJ's very clueless about the world.
I mean, I lived, when I grew up, there were 7 of us in a shit apartment. Shit.
How
You
many
know,
rooms?
well, you had 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms,
Oh, that's nice.
four
4 bedroom.
bedrooms, a little living room, and a little, tiny rooms. I shared one with my brother. My other sister shared one. They shared one. Uh, and then you had like a kitchen. There was no dining room. You had like a kitchen table. It was a very small, tiny, shitty apartment. I mean, it's funny. His house is like a box. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, I guess and they're sheltered. I mean,
I
obviously
guess
Tony's kids have been very, very, very sheltered.
uh, Artie walks to the bar. We're at the Vesuvio. Elodie, I'm still going to call her Elodie.
LOD is flirting with him. She gives
Elodie,
him a CD, Boulevard des Slows, which is a pop slow jam compilation kind of thing. She's giving that to him. I think she knows what's going on, so she's trying to distract him, and she's flirting. She's showing him her stomach. Artie's got the earring.
yeah.
He's getting.
And she says, I can't eat the gnocchi anymore. Shows the stomach, very obvious. They're flirting. And Charmaine comes by. Problems with the investment, Arthur? She wants to play. What is that?
Hide the Boudin Blanc, which Boudin Blanc is white sausage.
She flirts with, she's flirting with Artie. And Artie says, I haven't heard from Jean-Philippe. Has he called your mother? Oh, he works strange hours, she said. Who knows?
He works strange hours. He's always on the phone with Paris or France.
Carmela, they're at the gym. Carmela's working out with Adriana. We don't see you here anymore up at the house. Christopher can't seem to shake the flu.
His skin doesn't look good, she said.
Yeah. And is that because shooting junk?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what happens?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you don't look your best. There's a kind of a corpse-like pallor that comes over the skin after a while.
She says, yeah, the skin doesn't look good, but you could see her thinking about taking Furio now. A spot opens
She's
up.
happy, yeah. Now her plan can fall into action. Adriana's saying there's problems at the club, at Crazy Horse. They're under a lot of stress, and she just doesn't want to deal. Christopher's not going to... Christopher probably could go, but Adriana doesn't want to be near the Soprano family, obviously, near Carmela or Tony.
We're at Vesuvio's. Tony and Janice are having dinner. So he says, so you and Bobby Bacala, huh? And she snaps at him. What's so fucking compelling to you about my personal business, which she's talked about and has told Tony numerous times before. I was going to say he's a nice guy. What am I, a toxic person? He says to her.
It's also funny watching her suck the marrow out of the bones.
I don't like that. Do you like bone marrow?
She said, I don't eat it anymore. I mean, I did. It was okay. I mean, depends how it's cooked.
That's not for me.
But she's saying her mother, Livia, was into bone marrow, but there's something very kind of savage about it. The image of her sucking on the meat out of the marrow out of the bones,
Yeah, that's not for me.
Image. I Only Have Eyes for You, great song by the Flamingos playing during this scene. Artie comes over with this free dessert on the house, chocolate souffle, gelato sorbet. And then Janice wants a very expensive grappa.
Well, first he says Armagnac to come or later.
Right.
And she says it's a histamine. Are you kidding me? She, that's a histamine. She doesn't like it. Armagnac. And that's when she asks for the expensive grappa. Tony goes for it. Bring the bottle.
Which is also made from grapes, so I don't know what the difference is between Armagnac, why it would affect her any different. Bring the bottle. The bottle's a couple $100. It's expensive stuff on the tab. Artie doesn't like that. Artie's just feeling like, he's getting screwed over by Tony.
He asks her about, anyone who ever committed suicide. Murray Furlong. Committed suicide.
Yeah. Oh, she goes, I used to live in Seattle. Seattle is...
the suicide capital of the world. Of the United States, kind of.
Of the U.S., apparently. Yeah.
Because it's rainy and it's gray and it's dark, huh? They had an argument over FedEx package. So she
She
felt bad
thought he
about
might have
it.
been in the CIA. He was gone for long periods of time. She felt a little responsible. They had an argument. Yeah. Um, he also says to her, "Am I such an ogre? I got to have an agenda." He says that to Janice when she's getting pissed off at him. It's a cool scene between the two of them. We don't really see this kind of
Yeah.
intimacy all the time between them.
Vesuvio bathroom. Tony's in the bathroom. Artie comes in. I want to give you a little heads up. I know the money's due in a couple of days. I can't get a hold of Jean-Philippe. Tony tells him, you got to get over there. Got to get your arms around this thing. Uh, you know, when you lend people money, and he tells him, he says, soon they're going to act like they're doing you the favor. And I don't know if you've ever lent anyone money, but I have. And you get that attitude a lot. All of a sudden, they're annoyed. They don't want to pay you back. And it's like you say, hey, you said you were going to have the money by, you know,
Right.
whatever.
And
And now
Tony-
they got a fucking attitude. You don't need the money, is dead. Have you ever come across that? You ever lend anybody money?
I have, yeah, I have, and that does happen, without a doubt.
That happens. That's why it happens. It's happened to me more than once. And unfortunately, it makes you not want to help someone because they fucking turn on you. Hey, you're working. You got money. You're rich. What the fuck I got to pay you back for? I said, all I'm guilty of is helping you. That's all I did. You said you were going to have the money back, but that's how it is. They beg you, even on a Shylock loan, they beg you for the money, and then...
So even with a gangster, a dangerous guy like Tony, he sees this all the time. This is the attitude that he deals with, and he knows what's happening. He's being stalled, so he tells, Artie, you got to deal with this.
He said, did you go over there? He said, no. So, well, you got to go over there. Get your arms around it before it gets too... Artie wanted to play in the big leagues. He wanted to be a Shylock. Of course, basically, that's what he did.
Right.
He lent this guy the money.
Yeah, he wanted to make the money. He also kind of wanted to impress LOD a little bit and, get in good with her because he's susceptible to to young women, obviously. He fell for Adriana. Now he's falling for this chick.
Artie's apartment. He's talking to himself in the mirror. This is a great scene. Johnny is very, very good here. It's very funny.
His taxi driver moment, right?
Yeah.
He says, like, qu'est-ce que c'est? What is that? A Berber carpet? What are those shoes? Designer. And he calls him a frog-eating facha de gats. This is his script. He's in black. He's dressed all in black. He's getting ready, psyching himself up for this big confrontation. We cut from him looking in the mirror to Christopher looking in the mirror, spacing out really high. Now he doesn't have to pretend he's not high. He's very high, looking in the mirror. His friend Eddie, who's, I guess, a dealer, played by Daniel London, is puking in the bathroom. Christopher's looking at his eyes and his eyebrows.
I got to tell you, being a junkie is this is not no fucking big, profane thing I'm saying, but it sounds like just a horrible life. I mean, just fucking shooting heroin. I mean, just being all fucked up all the time and sick and looking sick and.
Well,
that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
You don't care about anything because you're completely anesthetized to everything. It's that. You don't,
doing other drugs, people do pills or even smoke weed or do coke and you're out. It's kind of a party drug. You're out ecstasy, they're out and about kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of fun, in a way. This doesn't seem like any fun ever.
This is kind of an escape in oblivion. No,
you don't shoot heroin and go to a party.
I've never, no.
You've never done that. When you shot heroin, you stay home.
It's a stay-at-home, or I don't know. Yeah, of course.
Do you want to have sex on Do you want to have sex on heroin? Does that happen?
Um, maybe more like the kind of closeness with somebody, but no, the actual physicality, because you're not so connected to your body. It's a very euphoric high,
So you just
Not
want to
not a
be,
care in the world. Everything's great.
you want to be inside yourself. Okay,
Everything's great. Not a problem. You could get sick and throw up, which happens sometimes, and you don't care if you're throwing up.
gotcha.
It's fun.
Jean-Philippe's apartment. Artie arrives.
His black leather jacket with his black turtleneck. He's
He's
dressed
for the role.
for the role.
You're
Yes.
supposed to give me my money 2 days ago. He's saying, my credit didn't come through.
He's trying those rehearsed lines.
How much time lapsed here?
I think 2 weeks.
So already everything went south, and this John Philippe is making it like it was an investment, not a loan.
It was supposed to be 10 days, and now he's late like a week.
Yeah, but he's saying I'm not even gonna. It's not gonna happen. He's telling them like there's no deal. He's not saying he's making it like Artie invested. Artie didn't invest.
Right.
Artie just lent him the money.
Right. Now he's saying it was an investment. You were going to make money. It was not a loan, and Artie doesn't know how to handle it. He's trying to do the lines that he rehearsed in the mirror, and they're not coming out. This guy's giving him bullshit credit Lyonnaise. They didn't come through. It doesn't look too good. They don't agree about the potential for Armagnac. They can't figure out how to market it. The hip approach doesn't work with Armagnac as well.
And this was all done. That's what I'm saying. All in a matter of 2 weeks or 3 weeks. All this they found out. All this now. I mean, it's complete bullshit. What he's telling them. Artie's pissed off. Artie starts choking him.
Yeah.
And this guy they wrestle around a little. This guy gets the best of him and throws Artie, pulls the earring out of his ear.
He calls him a frog eating watch of the gots. The guy doesn't like that. Throws him out the door.
Yeah, it doesn't work out for Artie. AJ and Patrick drive to Devin's house. Saying, it doesn't look so great at first. And Patrick's giving him sex tips. Keep knocking on the door without going in right away. Like he knows he's probably never been laid himself, but he's given, his kids that age, give sex tips wherever you heard them. There's a big parking lot, a security guard, a video camera. Devin comes out. It is, a pretty incredible place, obviously. Like a whole nother world.
A whole other strata of society. Yeah.
Artie's house. Artie crying on the couch. He's drinking. He's taking pills. He's very drunk.
He's listening to French music, the music that Elodie gave him. He's very depressed. He's taking pills. He's drinking the Armagnac.
Really sobbing. Really sobbing. It's you feel bad for Artie here. Hotel bedroom. Tony's in bed with. Is that one of the stewardesses?
Yeah, I think she was one of the stewardesses. Tona, that's her real name. Tona Christensen. She played. I think that's the first time we see her in that. Was at a party in the hotel suite. And Artie calls, really messed up. I'm sorry I let you down. I'm a complete and total failure. I didn't mean to hurt anybody. You take care of Charmaine. I'm going to sleep. Tony flips out.
Tony's in a panic. He puts on his pants. He doesn't know what to do. What's wrong? You got to go. A friend of mine took pills, calls 911. Tony is in a panic. Here's a guy who's seen a lot of dead people. He's murdered a lot of people. You don't see him losing it. He's losing a little.
He's losing it and coming on the heels of Gloria. Another suicide. He feels responsible again. This idea of being this toxic person, and then everything he touches somehow is tainted by his evil streak or his evil side or something.
Devin's house. Devin and AJ are on the couch. There's Picasso's on the wall.
Modigliani on the wall. There's it's millions and millions of dollars in art. God knows how much those paintings are worth. Soda turntable. Those can be like 10 grand or more. The soda.
They got an original Rubber Soul album from the Beatles.
Yeah, and AJ feels like a jerk, and he feels kind of betrayed. He's embarrassed. My mother's stupid Yadro, you know what I mean? He just feels like
You should have told me if it wasn't such a big deal. Why didn't you say something? Obviously Devin Pillsbury, which is her name, is very, very wealthy.
yeah, they may be billionaire. I don't know.
He said you should have said something. It is when you look back, kind of embarrassing. She hides this. He's going. We have, a housekeeper 3 times a week, and my mother's statue, and Carmela doesn't know this, but she really looks stupid.
Yeah, but Devin didn't do anything wrong. I mean, she
didn't do anything wrong. And listen, how could
and she
you go?
Says I don't care.
If she goes around telling people how wealthy her family is and all that,
right?
Guys might be with her for the wrong reason, right?
Sure.
Hospital room. Artie's in a hospital bed. Tony arrives. Artie, it all went to shit the next vodka. The money's gone. You could take the restaurant. Suppose you weren't able to reach me. I come over here, your house, and find you dead. How am I supposed to feel? Again, with the selfishness, the
guy just tried to kill himself. How am I supposed to feel?
If you got killed, how am I supposed to feel?
All right.
Take the restaurant. Tony correct 50,000 will take me the rest of my life, and Tony corrects him. It's 51.5. Vigwise, Artie, and technically you already missed a payment. Well, wipe my tab at the restaurant. So the 6,000's gone. He says, I'll assume the guy's debt.
Yeah.
Collect the 50 G's.
He's going to assume the debt and collect the 50 G's. And he's got the $6,000 tab. And now Artie's like, this cobwebs are now removed. And he's thinking, this was all, I was in way over my head. This guy, this is his territory. This is his business. This is his skill set. And he winds up coming out on top.
And he says, you could see this a mile away. You knew it would end this way. You knew you would eat for free.
Worst case scenario, you eat for free.
And this is the ultimate. No good deed goes unpunished.
Right.
This is the ultimate. Tony's livid. He tells Artie he's disgraceful. He says, you a mug. People already here. I never lent you that money. I have enough people who hate me. Takes his watch and his wallet. Says, you were mugged by kids. This is the ultimate no good deed.
Yeah. And he's going to say, they're going to know, you took pills. He says, you knew you'd have to wait at the ER, so you took some pills to dull the pain. Tony and really goes into, crisis mode, how to figure this out. And, he goes right into that.
And he is pissed off.
Problem solver mode. You don't care what people think. Well, I do. Enough people hate me. Again, guy just tried to kill himself. His life is falling apart. Enough people hate me. He's worried about that.
He doesn't care about Artie that much. But I think after you murder all these people, and I think after you send people to murder people, do you really care? Death is not that big a deal, I would assume.
I mean, when it comes to those close to you, obviously it is,
I don't know. I don't know if you become immune to it. I don't know.
Probably on some level, yeah. There's that's got to come into play. Yeah, you're right.
See that? What you just said? You're right.
What?
I'm going to have that as a clip.
Oh, geez.
I want to play that over and over and over and over on a loop. Restaurant. Tony and Carmela having dinner with Brian, Janelle, Furio, and Jessica. And Tony's telling this elaborate story about it was a dream. His grandfather was sitting at the table. In front of him was a steak pizza. Standing next to him is his grandmother. She's wearing a blue dress. She's pouring him a glass of wine. And he says to me, you see, this if you are not a good wife. And he says to me, you see, this you got a good wife. You're a millionaire. So the next day I go over to Carmela's house for dinner with her family, and in front of me is steak pizzaiolo, and she's wearing a blue dress.
Do you like steak pizzaiolo?
What is that, with sauce? Red
Yeah.
sauce? I
Yeah.
haven't had that in years. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a real Italian thing,
Yeah.
Napolitan dish.
You liked it? Did you like it?
I
when
never
you-
really liked it. I never liked it when I was a kid. No, my grandmother used to make it a lot. It was never my thing. Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't have cheese on it, just red
No,
sauce.
no, not cheese.
Yeah, I've had that. Also, I like chicken cacciatore. That I like.
That's a little different. Yeah.
And it's hard. Not too many restaurants make it, and if they do, they don't make it that good.
No, I mean, and when it's not done right, you're better off not having it at all. But something's going on with him with Carmela now. I think he's seeing her in a little bit of a different light after the whole experience with Gloria and where it went. I mean, at the end of the day, she's a rock to him in a way. You know what I mean? She's a source of security, stability. And I think he's realizing that here.
He bought the ring the next day. Did you write this
Yeah,
particular whole thing?
yeah.
Did something like that happen to you in real life? Or did your grandfather tell you any words of wisdom?
No.
I know you were close to him, no?
No, I think it was just imagination.
She's looking over. Carmela keeps looking over, watching Furio. I think she's jealous. They seem to be getting along. Him and Jessica are getting along pretty good.
Yeah, which I guess she expected to happen or wanted to happen, but now maybe regrets it. But strange. But they toast Brian toast Tony for being a great guy. Again, with the great guy.
Great tickets, great meal, great wine, and a great guy.
Right.
There you go. Melfi's office. So he says, I planned it all along, that I could see 20 steps down the road. How is it going to go and how is it going to get screwed?
Right. So he's
Did you?
doubting again that he's this great guy. He's talking. And Artie called him a hawk. Is that the kind of person I am? A hawk? But in a way, he's kind of done with it here. One, suicide is bad enough, but two, I made a donation in her name to the suicide hotline.
He said
And
they both
now
could
he
go
kind of
fuck
feels
themselves.
okay. Yeah. Now they can both go for. He made a donation, which is often what he does. Uses money to kind of lessen his guilt or kind of pay off emotional debt.
But I do like this line. She said, you make your living from usury. Why is this different? Why do you have a conscience now?
Right.
This
Right.
time, why? I like that. You make your living from usury.
And he does, but he's kind of over it. He's over it with the guilt. He does blame himself, but now he gave the money to the suicide hotline. They can all go fuck themselves, and he's kind of putting it away. He's putting it to bed. I'm okay. I gave them money. I tried to help. In some ways, he's kind of relieved of the guilt. Somehow, the money that he donated to the suicide hotline is like paying that off.
Well, like you said, he uses money a lot, as do a lot of mob guys.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what tipping is to a degree? To ensure proper service? You're not giving the people the money necessarily out of the goodness of your heart. Sometimes,
in that case,
sometimes you are.
In that case, it would be up front. You're not ensuring good service if you're tipping at the end of the meal.
At times you say, this guy did a really good job. He deserves it. So you'll tip him. But then sometimes people get tipped up front. You're trying to.
Yes, I've done that. If special event, a special
Sure.
occasion, I want tonight to go well. Please,
Sure.
give somebody something.
You want to get to the front of the line.
Yeah, good seat somewhere.
You go tip, a
Good
good
table.
seat, good table. There's a long line. You go up front, you tip. Hey, a lot of people are against that, but hey, they should do it.
It's business.
It's just business. John Philippe's place. This is a great scene. Furio doesn't even have to say anything. He opens up the door. It's Furio. You know what's going to happen.
Tony's going to get his money.
They're going to get his money. He's going to give him a beating that he never.
And he's gets to eat at Vesuvio. The
For
tab
free.
is wiped out, and he's going to start a new tab. Obviously, right?
AJ Friend's basement. They're wrestling on the floor. Patrick and AJ sit on the couch. They're talking about Devin's house. The projection screen in their media room was as big as the small ones at AMC. I heard Mr. Pillsbury is some kind of financial corporate whiz or something.
Yeah. How come your dad doesn't have that Don Corleone money? I don't know, he says, And the great song ends with a great song by Dave Edmunds, Take Me for a Little While, the first line, which is, I've been trying to make you love me, which obviously relates to Tony in this episode to some.
Did you go, when we were in Tahoe, I know some of the guys took a ride out to the Corleone house.
Oh no, I didn't. It is on Tahoe, right? Yeah,
in Tahoe,
on Lake Tahoe.
And Godfather 2.
Did you go?
No, I didn't go.
No.
And Godfather 2, when Frank D'Angeli is trying to get him
right on the lake there, the gazebo. They had the party. But is that a private house or is it
It's a private house.
It's a private house. Yeah.
I know they were taking a ride there. I don't know exactly. I don't know if you went. All right, now it's time for the Talking Sopranos Ask Me Anything segment. The winner of our AMA Best Question is Corey from Bayside, New York, and we're sending Corey a pair of Bose headphones.
Corey asks, who was the coolest person, celebrity, athlete, politician, etc., to tell you they were a fan of the show? Good question. Who was yours?
You know what I liked? I liked when we threw out the first pitch at the Yankee game. The Yankees were as happy to see us as we were to see them.
Yeah.
We were in the dugout, and Joe Torre was there, and Derek Jeter, and a bunch of the other guys, Mariano, and it was kind of like, man, I can't believe I'm here, and we're doing this, and 5 of us are throwing out the pitch, and that was something. That was a good one.
That's pretty cool.
And then George Clooney was a big fan. I did the Tonight Show with him, and I mean, there's so many people. Really, kind of who wasn't a fan of the show? This wasn't, like a show that you were. Some people that it's a great show, but no one's watching it. Everybody watched it. Everyone in the business watched this. I remember you telling
almost everybody.
Almost.
Not everybody watched it. Yeah. But
I thought most
people, but yeah, there were people who made a point to tell me they didn't watch the show.
Well, De Niro claims he never saw the show. That was one
did
person. Yeah.
Is that why you don't like him?
Well, one, because he's a fucking liar, because he has to be aware of the show. You know why I don't like him. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to bore the people out there. But he claims to have never seen the show. It's kind of hard to believe.
Maybe he hasn't. I don't know.
Listen, you may not have seen, episodes. Like, I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I'm well aware of it. I know it's a huge show. Of it. It's a huge show worldwide. Game of Thrones. It was well acted, well directed. I know all about it. I have not seen it. Okay. I remember you told me Burt Reynolds loved the show.
He did. Yeah. He loved the show. He was, I met him on my birthday at the morning show with Regis and Kelly. Burt Reynolds was very cool. And really, that was the first time I had met him. He was a big fan. For me, the coolest, definitely Lou Reed, without a doubt, for me. When I went to his concert, I guess in 2000, I got tickets because it was sold out. I was in a small venue in New York. My manager got me tickets through his publicist. And then when the show was over, his assistant said, Lou wants to see you backstage. I didn't know he knew I was there or anything. I didn't know he knew who I was or whatever. And
wow, that's good. That's
how I got to know him.
And then Bono
became friends after that.
And then Bono invited
Patti
us.
Smith.
We went together, Patti Smith. But
I went on stage and sang with Patti Smith at her concerts.
That's great.
Jumpin' Jack Flash. I did the harmony with
that's great.
with her in the band. Yeah.
Also, we did Bette Midler. And we did a charity. I don't think you were there, but it was myself and Federico, Johnny V, with Danny DeVito and Tony Sirico, and we met everyone from Glenn Close and Kevin Spacey was there and Robin Williams. They were all fans of the show, and that's kind of amazing when it's someone that you admire and you say, "Man, I can't believe Bette Midler knows who the fuck I am and what I'm doing." That kind of stuff. Bono invited us backstage. That was great. Remember?
Bono and the Edge, yeah.
We went together, yeah. And, I love it when I go to the Knick game because, I love that. Kobe came over to say hello, and other basketball players always recognize, not everyone, but, when it's someone that I admire, that knows. I went to a Dodger game. They were playing the Reds. Joey Votto yelled from the stands.
He's on the Dodgers?
He was on the Reds.
And he saw you?
I don't know if he still is. He saw
from
me.
The field?
I was about 4 or 5 rows up, yeah.
Yeah, I was at the game once, the Yankee game, and I was right behind third base in the front row, and I was with I think both my sons and somebody else, and Jeter was it was warming up before the game, and he just came and started talking and said, I had met him before, but that was kind of cool.
See, that's great. Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's umpire Phil Cuzzy, who is a dear friend, but he came up to me. He was umping the game, came over, gave my 2 daughters a ball, and we've been friends since. Yeah. He does a great ALS charity, and when it's kind of amazing. It still amazes me when it's someone. What politician? I mean,
Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton.
Clinton. Oh yeah, I met Clinton. I told you that
Giuliani, when he was mayor of New York, was at the Yankee World Series game. Governor Pataki, Andrew Cuomo. I'm not from The Sopranos, actually. Because I was cast as him. He had never seen The Sopranos at the time that I met him a couple of years ago. I don't know if he's seen it since.
Me and Johnny V were in Pesty.
President Bush. I met with Tony Sirico, actually.
Really?
At a fundraiser, yeah.
George
W. Bush. We were at I think it was Wounded Warriors charity, and he wound up coming through. We didn't know he was coming.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, he was there.
I was there when he threw out the first pitch at the Yankee game, right after 9/11.
George Bush?
George W. threw out the first pitch. Me and Johnny V were at Pastis, our old hangout in the meatpacking district. We had been to an event. I think we were in tuxedos, believe it or not. And we're at the bar drinking, and a guy comes up to us, Secret Service, says, would you guys like to meet Bill Clinton? He'd like to meet you. As we go in the back, and there was fucking Bill Clinton. He said to say hello to Lorraine. I guess Lorraine was friends with him. And he was a big Soprano fan. He said he would watch it all the time.
Obama was a Soprano fan.
Yeah.
She used to, he writes it in his book, I think. He's talking about how Michelle would watch Sex in the City, and he'd watch that with her, and she would watch Sopranos with him because he was a big fan. I've never met President Obama. But
now, who do you know doesn't watch it? You said not everyone. Who? I don't know anyone that's never seen it.
I told that story. I was at that Golden Globes party at the Chateau Marmont, and that very famous actor was like, I don't watch TV.
Oh, yeah. Oliver Stone said that to me, too. Someone introduced us. I was at Harry's, he said, hey, he was on The Sopranos. He said, I've never seen it. Like, he just gave me the big pay no mind list.
Yeah.
Like just a couple of years ago. He used to hang around Harry's over there on Murray Street.
Oh, really?
There's also, there was a big actor. I was in Cinque, the restaurant, and he was a very nice guy, very popular, and we started talking. He hung out there, and he said he had never seen The Sopranos. And then when I told you, You said, "Oh, he watches it and he knows," but he wouldn't admit it to me. That's an act of ego
Really?
thing.
That's a shitty thing to do.
Yeah, they don't want to admit it. Hey, what can I tell you? What can I tell you? But there you go. We've met. I've been very lucky to meet some 99% really good people that were fans of the show. And when it's someone that you're a fan of and they know what you do, I can't even think off the top of my head. I know there's a lot more that I've run into, and it's pretty good. Steve Martin was a big fan of the show. Martin Short, I like those guys, you know. Matter of fact, I went up to Steve Martin. I did something with the girl he was dating at the time, and I said, "Hey, I'm a big fan of yours." He said, "I'm a big fan of yours." So whether he's lying or not, it don't matter. And I know Al Gore. Al Gore.
I didn't know that.
Yes, Al Gore is a big fan of the show.
He's a friend of yours?
Yeah, well, a friend. I mean, if he sees me, he'll say, "Hello, Steve." I mean, we don't keep in touch, but there you go. So Corey from Bayside, New York, enjoy. Good question, and enjoy your Bose headphones. So thanks for listening. And remember, new episodes are released every Monday. Please subscribe to the Talking Sopranos podcast on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and like us on Facebook. Also on YouTube, we're approaching 100,000 subscribers. Please, we're trying to get to that 100,000 mark. Help us out there. Right now, you can get official Talking Sopranos merchandise on TalkingSopranos.com or through our YouTube channel. They have a bunch of different merchandise coming, so keep an eye out for that.
Our executive producer is Jeff Sussman, producers Andy Verderam. Music theme song was composed and performed by Elijah Amerton. You can hear more of Elijah's music and the band Zopa, which Elijah and I play together, by clicking the link at TalkingSopranos.com. Our production crew includes Ty Verderam and Sierra Schirripa. We record Talking Sopranos at NYC Podcasting, which is New York's premier podcasting studio. Talking Sopranos is a Pod Jams production.
All right, great episode you wrote. Even though I wasn't in it, I forgive you. I just want you to let you know I'm not holding a grudge. I forgive you. After all, it was in 2002. I've let it pass. I'm okay with it now.
I'm glad you're okay with it. Thank you. You're a bigger man than I am.
Yes, I am. I'll see you next week, bro.
See you later.